Morning, guys. Welcome back to my garden. If you're new here, my name is Kira. Feel free to call me Q. And today we are going to be repotting this Greenstalk full of strawberries. So we've been doing a lot of pruning lately, so I'm just disinfecting these clippers before we get going here. This is something that I'm trying to get better about remembering, is to just regularly disinfect my clippers and pruners, but also especially just between big projects like this, because we're cutting off a lot of plants that, might have diseases and stuff like that. And so I just don't want it to spread. So I have two things of strawberries here that we got about a week ago from the nursery. One is a June bearing variety, so it's going to have most of its berries around one time in June, and they're usually like bigger. It's really good for canning and stuff like that. This is not going to be enough for us to actually make any jam or anything, but I wanted to practice before we get more plants. And then this one is a everbearing. The June bearing is Sequoia, and then the everbearing is Quinault or Quinault. These look really bad. So we bought these a week ago, and they haven't been like drying out or anything like that. They have had water, and not too much water either. I've been really good about that. But they just kind of shriveled up, and it looks, here, I'll show you. This looks a lot like sun damage to me, which is really weird because when you buy starts from the nursery, they're supposed to already be hardened off and acclimated to the sun. So I don't know what happened here, but we are going to plant them anyway and just kind of see how they do. But this is why I really wanted to get this project done today, so that I could get these in, get them in good soil, start fertilizing them regularly, and hopefully they will have a fighting chance. We'll see. And then this is what the Greenstalk looks like right now. You can see there's some old strawberry plants in here. These are actually plants that came from our old house. I planted them in here last year. I didn't know if they would do anything or not. You see a lot of them died because there was a pretty long period where I just forgot to water them. But there's still some stuff in here. This is actually a blackberry cane that rooted in here, so I'm going to be moving that guy. So all the strawberries in here, like I said, they're about 2 years old at this point, and they're probably not going to produce any more fruit. We got like a little bit last year, but they are going to produce runners. And it's much easier to just kind of like let them go and root themselves in soil or in a bed or something like that than to try and propagate runners in a Greenstalk. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these out, and we're actually going to move them over to our back perennial loop, is what we're calling it, so that these guys, even if they're not producing berries anymore, hopefully they can still produce more strawberry plants that will produce more berries. When it comes to buying, I mean, most plants really from a nursery or from like a box store or anything like that, there's kind of like a beginner mistake, which I totally made this mistake too, is you think like, oh, I'm going to get the one that already has strawberries on it, or I'm going to get the one that has a ton of flowers, and that is going to just like set me up and I'll have all my stuff sooner, which is like technically true. But when you plant things, you actually want to take off any fruit that's on it, and you want to take off any flowers that are on it, because what you want when you first plant something is you want to allow the roots to establish, and so you want the plant to focus on like acclimating to the new area and to get a really strong root system. And any fruit that it's trying to develop, or flowers it's trying to develop, that's going to take away from that. And so it's actually better to either get plants that don't have anything on them already, or to just cut all of that off as soon as you get home when you plant them. That can be really hard to do. That was really hard for me to do as a beginner too. It's still hard for me to do. I don't like cutting stuff off. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these adorable little flowers here. You see those cute guys? And I'm just going to chop them. So that is the first step here. We'll take that guy off. It's like a cluster of flowers in the corner here. I'm going to take all of those guys off. And here's another one. And then There's a couple more over here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is take off anything that is discolored because I don't want the plant to put any more energy into growing leaves like this one. You see, that doesn't look great, so I'm just going to take it off. And I think the rest of this one looks pretty good. So we're going to start from there. And then this guy, it's all messed up. So you can see it's just, it doesn't look great. So I'm actually going to leave most of these, even though they look terrible, because I want to give the plant as much of a chance to photosynthesize as possible, but I'm still going to take a few of them off. So take off kind of like the worst offenders on each plant, and then the little flowers here too, I'm going to take those off. All right, so still doesn't look great. It's pretty sad, but I took off the worst looking flowers, or the flowers, and then the worst looking leaves, and I'm kind of left with the small ones, which I think will be really good because it'll allow the plant to grow a little bit better. I mean, when this started to wilt, it wasn't dry. It still feels pretty moist to me, but my hands are cold, so it's hard for me to tell. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to make tags. Let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 of these, which just makes it easy, and I have 6 of these. Okay, so I have 6 even on each, and I'm gonna make some tags for each variety. So I have my little markers here because I'm spreading them out in the Greenstalk. I want to know which one is which, so that one I can track the progress, especially this one that doesn't look very good. But I want to decide if there's one that I like more, I want to be able to track which plant it is. So I have 2 colors here, and I have a garden marker. I do this with a Sharpie, do it with a garden marker. I find that both of them fade. People say the garden markers don't fade as much. To me, they do. And so that's why I'm doing 2 different colors, so that once the handwriting on this is gone, basically because of sun exposure, I still know which one is which because they're 2 different colors. So I'm going to write these tags out. All right, so I have all my tags. I'm going to place them here on the table. And now I am going to take this Greenstalk apart. So I actually only know how to do this in theory because Andrew built these for me last year while I was pregnant. And so I've seen people take them apart online, and I think it's actually going to be pretty straightforward, but I've never done it before myself. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah. That came off super easy. Ugh, spider webs. Oh gosh. Okay. Yuck. So yeah, they just have these, Greenstalks have these tabs on them that just kind of like lock into place. So it makes it actually really easy. That came right off. So this is the top where you water from. And now the next tier, let's see how heavy this is. Oh, that's not too bad. I mean, it's heavy for me, but it's not too bad. I think I'm just gonna put these on the ground for right now. And then each tier has kind of like the reservoir, and it has holes in it. So the water goes all the way down and then disperses through the holes on each level. Don't you touch that, Remy. We took apart one of our other Greenstalks so that we could refill it. And my dog, my darling boy, chewed one of the trays and completely destroyed it, which was a surprise to us because he never really chews. Oh, that's heavy. That's really heavy. He never really chews stuff that's ours. Like, he knows the difference between his toys and stuff. And in all the time that we've had him, he's in a rescue. He'd never chewed any of our stuff before. And so that was something where we had to, just make sure that we were back on top of the training, because anytime he does something that he's not supposed to do, we see it as, a problem that we need to fix, right? So it's like we need to be better, more diligent about his training and reminding him. And whew, that scared me. I saw something move. Yeah, we just see it as like, okay, it's not him being a bad dog. It's that we are responsible to remind him of what is okay for him to do and what's not okay for him to do. Okay, cool. And then I'm gonna move these trays off the ground to again take full responsibility and just kind of remove the temptation for him. You're a good boy, huh, bud? Yeah, you're such a good boy. Look how majestic you are, buddy. That lighting is amazing. So now that I have all this apart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig out all of the old strawberry plants that still have some green on them. I'm going to dig out the brown ones and dead ones too, but those will probably go to the compost. But anything that is still green on it, I'm going to take it out and then I'm just going to put it in this box. Now, normally I wouldn't put them in a box. I'd put them in like soil or something like that, like a pot with soil. But we're going to just go ahead and plant these in their new spot today. And so I'm not super worried about them just being in this box for a little bit. So I'm just digging underneath this a little bit with my Hori Hori knife. I love these things. They're fantastic. You can do so many things with it. And I'm just trying to get as much of the roots, you can see there, as possible. So this one, the other ones are kind of dead. So I'm going to do those later and I'll show you one. Let's see. Yeah, this one. So this one has green on it. Oh, it also has the tag. So this is the variety we had before, Albion. So I'll put that in the box too, so we can keep that with them. So yeah, I'm just kind of like digging underneath this and prying it up a little bit. I'm not being too gentle. I don't really need to. And then anything that comes up with the roots and all of that, I'm going to take that whole thing. All right, I got all the strawberries out. Now all that's left is this rogue blackberry. And I was trying to dig it out and it seems pretty deep, so I'm going to give this one a little bit more time and finesse. Let's see. Yeah, these roots go way deeper than I thought. He's in there. Come on, dude. I think it goes all the way to the bottom. That's wild. Okay, I'm gonna have to break some roots as much as I don't want to. Well, yeah. Okay. Wow. This is a happy blackberry. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, this guy's definitely gonna be repotted. I'm gonna put it with our other blackberry transplants. Okay, this is temporary solution. Just keep those roots covered for now. So the first thing I did with these green stalks was take out half of the soil that was in them. With any container gardening, you want to kind of replenish the soil when you're planting something new. And so I took half of the old stuff out and put it in this wheelbarrow. And then I come in later, you'll see, with a new bag of potting mix that had some compost in it and other good stuff like that. Growing in containers is something that I'm definitely not good at, mostly because I forget about them, but it is something that I want to be better at, specifically with the green stalks. I just think green stalks are so cool and they allow you to grow so much stuff in a small space. And I wish that these were around, or maybe I just wish that I knew about them. I don't know if the company existed when we lived in our tiny little apartment that had a patio when we grew our first cherry tomato, but I wish I had either known about these or that they existed then, because this would have been just so awesome for us to have. So this is something that I'm going to be working on, is just getting into the routine of regularly watering and also fertilizing these green stalks. And the soil that I'm taking out here and putting in the wheelbarrow, it's not going to go to waste. We end up using some of it in our garden beds just to kind of fill in the beds. And then the other part of it, we mix with more compost to plant our potatoes in containers. And the soil was a little compacted from just like sitting in this container for so long. And so I went in there with my Hori Hori knife, which again, I love. It's my favorite gardening tool. And it really allowed me to kind of like get into the sides of the green stalks and loosen that soil so that I could really mix it in with the new stuff. Now, normally in my garden beds, we do like no dig or no till methods, and so we try to disturb the soil as little as possible. But container gardening is kind of a different bag, and so you want to be able to replenish the soil and like add new nutrients because there isn't really a lot of life happening in the soil that's going to do that on its own like it would if it was in the ground. And so once I got the containers, a good amount emptied out, I went in there with the new bag of soil and filled them up. The instructions on the green stalks say to fill the containers up completely to the top with soil, but I find that I really like leaving a little bit of space, maybe like a half an inch or so. And I also ended up having to take a little bit more of the soil out when I was putting the watering reservoirs back in because I was having trouble getting the layers to clip on together right. It seemed like the reservoir was too high and in the way. And so I ended up going back through later and taking out a little bit of the soil just out of the middle. I don't know, that might have just been an error on my part, but that was just what I found when I was putting these together. Now, strawberries are one of those things that we've been growing for a few years now, actually, with varying degrees of success. So in our very first garden, we built this kind of like little bed with a cage on top of it. It was like chicken wire, and we put like a hinge on it so you could open kind of like a door would open, or kind of like a cold frame would open. And that worked really well to protect the fruit from birds. But we realized very quickly that we had a whole different problem, and that was slugs. The slugs were getting in there and they were eating any fruit that was even like close to ripe. And so you'd pick up these like beautiful strawberries and turn them around and they'd have holes in them already, which was really disappointing. And so we thought with the green stalks, this would work better because the slugs would actually have to do a lot of work and climb up this thing. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? You worked hard for that. Go for it. But we wanted to try it out. And so last year was the first year that we had these. And while the plants still struggled for a few different reasons, we did end up getting a couple small strawberries off of them still, and they didn't have holes, which was really amazing. And I think because they were on our patio, the birds didn't really find them either. Now, on top of me forgetting to water them, they also struggled just because of where we have them on our patio. This was really the only like flat paved surface that we have in our backyard. And so I was trying to put them kind of on the edges of the patio where they could get a little bit of sun because our patio is covered, which is great for where we live because it is really hot. But with the patio roof, these green stalks don't really get 6 to 8 hours that they would want, and they definitely don't get it on all sides. We actually have to turn these every day so that the plants kind of take turns on each side on who's getting sun that day. And the spot that I originally put them in, they were actually getting close to 3 hours. And so that's why these strawberries last year really struggled. Now, a couple other things if you are interested in getting green stalks, they do actually have a self-watering attachment system that you can purchase now. That didn't exist when we bought these originally, or again, maybe I didn't know about it, but I'm pretty sure they came out with it last year. What we'll probably do is just kind of like jerry rig our own and set it up to our automated drip system that we already have. But I wanted to just kind of practice taking care of these manually first and kind of learn how to do it. This whole thing for me is just about practice. So it's practice taking care of strawberries. I wanted to do it kind of on a small scale because I would love to have a big strawberry patch one day that's not just big enough for us to harvest like a year's supply of strawberries for smoothies and making jam for us and for gifts to give away to people. But I would really love to one day be able to host a strawberry party at our house where we invite people over, they pick a bunch of strawberries to take home. They make jam with us, we drink strawberry lemonade, we have like some other strawberry desserts, I don't know. But even the idea of it makes me super excited. And so that is what I'm working towards by learning in these green stalks right now. Now, as I'm planting these, I kind of like to space plants out first just to kind of like see where they're going to go. I'm a very visual person, and so this helps my brain. Even though these aren't put together yet, I still liked building it out this way. I spaced all the strawberries of the different varieties so that I could have at least one in each of the tiers, and then I'm going to fill it in with other plants later for the gap, because these green stalks take, I think what it is, like 30 plants or something like that, and we had 12. And so it was nice to be able to just kind of like visually lay it out and put the tags in with each plant as I went. And I also kept the nursery tag that came with each plant and put that in one of the containers along with one of the tags that I made, so that they're always going to be color coded and I know which one is which as long as that nursery tag stays in the green stock. Oh, duh. Forgot the trays. Let's try this again. Once I put the tiers back on again with the water reservoirs in the correct order, I went ahead and rebuilt the tower. And you can see here that they have these really cool locking systems. These were pretty heavy with soil and water because I ended up like changing my mind a few times as I did this. And so, yeah, when you build your green stock, don't water it first. Definitely water it after. But I thought they were going to sit for a little bit. But anyway, the Greenstalk has these really cool clips that kind of like press down and then they clip in front of the like little lip of this tower underneath it. And so it's actually really sturdy and really nice. One thing that I forgot to do as I was putting these together was to line up the water reservoir holes with the actual pockets. So for this one, it ended up being okay, but after this, I rebuilt my other green stock also, and it's not watering right. So I have to take that one apart and make sure that the holes in the water reservoir are lined up with each one of the pockets of the green stock, because right now, all of the water in my other one is just kind of going straight to the bottom. And so that is a little helpful tip and something that I forgot to do as I was building these. So I just tried to put that last tier on top and it's way too heavy for me. I mean, it was pretty heavy with just the soil, but I watered these thinking that I would ask for Andrew's help later today. And so I wanted the strawberries to not dry out in the meantime. Why am I putting these back on? But I decided to be stubborn and try and do it myself. And I really should not do that last one. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have that last tier on, and then you put the watering reservoir right on top. And green stalks are great and really easy to water because you just fill up the top bowl. So last thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to just put some random seeds in the empty pockets that I have here just to add more color and stuff as this grows. I have a bunch of different kinds of basils that I'm going to put in there. So I have Thai basil, regular Italian basil, and then this really pretty Genovese purple basil. And then I have just some random things. So this is a dwarf zinnia thumbelina mix. I got this year at a seed swap, so I want to put some of those in there because they're pretty short. And then I have these pollinator flowers and these poppies. These are really old seeds and I've never really used them, so I don't know if these are going to do anything or not, but I don't even know if they are the right height, but I'm gonna try and see if I could get just like a couple cute flowers in here and I'll be happy. So I'm going to finish planting this off, but thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I refilled this green stock. I have one more that I'm going to build out and I have to figure out what I'm going to put in there. I was going to do some cold weather stuff, but I think it's way too late. I don't know. Well, I might still try. I have to think about it some more. If you have a green stock at home, I'd love to hear how you like it, what you grow in it. That'd be really fun in the comments. And if you're thinking about getting a green stock, I'd love if you have any questions. Last year was the first year that I tried to grow in these and things didn't go super well just because I got busy and forgot to water them. But I'm hoping that this year is better. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today in my garden, and I will see you next time. Bye.